So we built an old-fashioned smokehouse so that we could smoke juniper berries to use as a flavoring to make a smoked aperitif using 100% native botanicals to Vancouver Island. And this is the full walkthrough of how we built and use the smokehouse.
You start with dry hardwood. You can't use softwoods like cedar or Douglas fir. They've got a lot of pitch that is not good to eat. So you want hardwoods. Our two major hardwoods in this region are red alder and broadleaf maple. So I'm using about a mix of 75% red alder and 25% broadleaf maple. Is it broadleaf or big leaf maple?
No.
I don't know. Yes, we got a maple in front of the house that we're using, and we got alder. You can actually see those trees back there right behind the smoker. That is all alder. So that is quite literally what we are smoking with. And I'm doing a wheelbarrow's worth of wood. So the idea here is I got this absolutely stunning, gorgeous cast iron stove. We've got a nice...
Oh, raging.
Perfectly.
Nice and toasty.
Yeah, a nice toasty fire going. We're looking for, out of the smokestack, is a pale blue or a thin blue smoke. So you don't want wet wood, you want dry wood. And yeah, thin blue smoke is what we're looking for. We start with a nice hot fire in the box here. Smoke travels up this chimney, which this thing was difficult to source because most chimneys for domestic use is galvanized steel. Galvanized steel, when heated up, can blow up zinc. This is stainless steel, so it is food safe. So we've got a 6-foot run of stainless steel chimney going into the base of the smokehouse, which is cinder block on a concrete foundation. And then that smoke, which is, you know, pumping out some creosote, which I don't necessarily want in the product. So on the base of this, we basically have a rock filter bed that we laid in here, so that, and you can see how even after we did an initial smoke run yesterday, and now these, like, they're getting black underneath. Filtering. I don't necessarily want that on the product. So
whereas like underneath here, can you see it? I mean, it's not going black. I know when we pulled the frames out, they had a tiny bit of discoloration,
but nowhere near as that. So, but not only is this acting as a kind of creosote filter or tar filter, or whatever stuff is coming off the wood, it's also acting as a smoke diffuser. So instead of one singular column of smoke going up the middle, it's diffusing and spreading that smoke out. We built a kind of plywood box in here.
Yeah,
Interior, so it's relatively tight, going out through a chimney. This chimney is galvanized, but this is really important to mention, this is a cold smoker. So when you're talking about meat, a cold smoker, you are curing your meat, and then this acts as both a drying house and as a flavoring house. So the smoke is adding flavor and the temperature is drying it out. Whereas hot smoking is you are cooking with smoke. We're not cooking anything here. Infusing flavor to a cured product. So having galvanized chimney on the output isn't a problem because I've got such a long enough run there, and you only, in this traditional style, only smoke when it's cold out. Crushed it. Nailed it. I mean, I just had the door open for a while, so it's a little lower, but I've got a little temperature probe, and right now we're sitting at 19 degrees inside the smokehouse. I think I was probably averaging between 25 and 35 when this has been closed. There's probably maybe a little bit warm for doing meat, and I might have to kind of mitigate that, but for dried juniper, that's no problem.
That's fine.
Design and build of this thing. So It's a little bit of a rustic shack.
Rustic chic.
Rustic chic shack.
It's the chic shack.
The chic shack. Most of the cost of this build, actually like 95% of it, was the stove. I got used, 200 bucks on Facebook. The stainless steel chimney. This was the hardest thing to find and the most expensive thing. The rest was the concrete foundation, cement foundation, and the cinder blocks and mortar. That's on the bottom there. The rest, apart from the nails, everything up, except for the galvanized chimney, cost $0.
Almost. Well, the plywood on the inside.
Yes, the plywood on the inside, so there's 80 bucks on the plywood on the inside. But I don't know, I just feel it's kind of the most environmentally sustainable method of construction and economic, which I like. Being on a budget and environmental benefit often go hand in hand.
No, inside. Because you end up reusing things and making do with what you have.
Entirely. Like, yes, it was more work. I like doing
More work.
More work. I like doing manual work, so it was fun. But like this door handle, for example, I got from that firewood pile. It was a piece of firewood that I just, with an axe, took out the center bit for the handle, and then Michaela had the brilliant idea that yes, we should shave off the top so that rainwater will. All of the framing was cedar, and I think I had one of these was older, but cedar posts that I just found out in the woods. Oh, this thing is not.
Does it need more firewood?
It needs more wood. Okay, hold on. Let's actually
Ooh.
follow me. My wood was a bit wet. I want a moisture content that is below 20%. I was sitting at about 25 because we didn't plan on building a smokehouse, so I didn't have time to dry wood. So I found some deadfall in the woods that had about 25%. Etta, inside. No, inside.
Good girl.
Deadfall, and I just stuck it on top of the fireplace inside to dry it out, and it seems to have done a good job. All right. So again, this is red alder. You can see how right now, pretty limited smoke. Get some air gaps in there. And that should keep it going for a while longer. See, this, to me, thin blue smoke. So these cedar posts here, just found out in the woods. We shaved these down, took the bark off with a draw knife because the bark will, insects will get in there. And then we got all of the actual flat wood. There was a sawmill down the road that had cedar offcuts for a truckload, as much as you can fit in your truck, for 30 bucks. So all this stuff up there, all this stuff. And then like 6 months ago, some guy was taking shingles off of his house. So we also got all of these shingles for free, so we got two different styles, which you can't really see the roof style that we got up there, but that's called board style, which basically means you've got about a third of your shingle is exposed to the weather. So they will deteriorate faster, but less or fewer lathing boards. I've only got 4 here. Whereas this is called shingle style, and it requires, which you can actually see over here, a lot more lathing boards, like boom, 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 boom.
She's real smoky now.
Yes, smoky now. A lot more lathing boards because you're only exposing a quarter of the shingles. I kind of wish, what I was trying to do was I wanted to have these posts exposed, and I kind of, you can see it a little bit better on the back. I put the lathing boards on the inside, so I've kind of got this, and then one on the outside on the bottom, so I've kind of got this sweeping look. But then to cover up and fill in, I still have to cover this corner. you know, there's the gaps here. So I need to go around the post, but then to make it look good, you kind of had to go all the way up the post. And honestly, at this point, I kind of just wish I put the lathing boards on the outside of the things and just went straight up, because then they would have met here and made a really nice corner instead of this kind of.
It's a learning opportunity.
Yeah. And then I also had to stop it here, so I had to cut these off and then put a beam up here to kind of hide the unevenness of the cut. It was, I don't know. I would have done many different things, but it's working, and we have a smokehouse.
Yes, we sure do.
And then Michaela built this lovely door.
Quinn said,
Hi.
make me a door.
And thus a door was made.
A door. So that's why, like, this piece, again, it's all the cedar offcut. So this one starts out really wide, goes narrow, and then it was trying to make a relatively square shape out of
But you did a phenomenal job with
all of these angled boards, which, yeah, I would argue that I did do a pretty good
For
job.
having never made a door before.
Yeah, so I basically just like played a bit of Tetris, laid all the boards that we had available in the carport, and then once I figured out approximately how big it needed to be, then had the boards on the top and the bottom. And then because they are like so uneven, like this one itself like sticks out quite a bit. Obviously that's not sealed on that side, and this one there's quite a few gaps there. So you've probably noticed, but that's why. So on the inside then measured and fit in this plywood piece just to kind of seal in all the gaps. Yeah, and that's how I made the door. Amazing.
The one last thing I want to talk about this design is, and your door, is we made it shorter but then put the shingles on the bottom. Now why would we do that? So in meat smoking and most food things, botulism is
A no-no.
no, you do not want botulism. Botulism grows in an anaerobic environment, meaning an environment devoid of oxygen. In a smokehouse, when you're doing meats, that's often why you would add nitrates to ward off botulism, because a smokehouse, by and large, is very easy to become anaerobic because you're pumping all of this smoke in. So the Farmstead meatsmith, his smoker design has a screen going around the whole base of it, and that is an air intake, but that screen is lower than the output of the smoke. So you're still going to smoke, but it's also going to draw in oxygen. So that's kind of what we did here. Is we have this screen here because the output of our smokestack is about here. Mm-hmm. So we added a screen, but then we added this backboard so that, you know, smoke rises, smoke goes up. It's not going to go up and then down and out, but the draft of this smokehouse will, as the smoke is going up and out, it's also going to draw air in without letting smoke out, unless the smoke builds up to the top and then stacks down and then comes out.
So the door, you can see, goes to like that point, and then the shingles go, and that's why we also weren't concerned about sealing up those gaps in the shingles. So that's just to protect basically the bottom of the frame from rain as it goes down.
And last but not least, we got some chicken wire up here. You can see the box, the interior box roof kind of ends about here.
And then the upper
and then
is giant just for fun and fashion.
Fun and fashion.
This is that frame I was talking about.
Yeah.
And that pretty much wraps up the smokehouse build. Next video, we're doing something extra crazy. So we were smoking juniper in this video. It was all British Columbia grown juniper. So we've decided to do something totally outrageous and start a juniper farm. It's an 8-year-long project where we're growing juniper from seed, and probably going to have about 80 different juniper trees on our property so that we can grow and use our own juniper berries for smoking and for gin and for all sorts of other fun things. So stick around. There's more crazy fun things.